3 divine words that will end the storm you've been enduring. God's message for you right now. The thunder roared like a beast unleashed. Rain slapped against windows, drumming in chaos. In the midst of the storm, a mysterious flash illuminated the night. This wasn't just any storm, it felt alive, swirling with a sinister energy that crackled in the air. People cowered in their homes, but one young woman named Clara felt something stir inside her, a strange compulsion to step outside. Was it madness? Or was it something else, something divine? As she stepped into the tumult, every droplet felt like a warning. The wind howled in protest, whipping through her hair, making her heart race. The streetlights flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced like wraiths. But Clara's pulse quickened with each beat. She wasn't afraid. She was on the verge of discovery, when she found an old, worn-out book lying in the mud, pages fluttering wildly. It looked ancient, almost as if it had survived 1,000 storms. Clara hesitated, but something pulled her closer. She knelt down, hands trembling, and opened it. A gust of wind blew the pages to a stop, landing on a passage that glowed with an otherworldly light, as if infused with a promise. 3 words leapt out at her: faith, hope, love. A sudden silence enveloped her. The storm held its breath, the world faded away. Clara's heart thudded in her chest. Were these mere words? Or were they the key to ending her suffering? Questions flooded her mind, making it hard to breathe. This storm had taken so much from her friends, dreams, even her belief. Could these divine words bring back what she'd lost? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Back outside, the storm roared to life once more, a cacophony of sound crashing around her. Clara felt an overwhelming swell of energy coursing through her. It was as if the universe was trying to communicate. The shadows around her seemed to press in, whispering secrets, and her head spun with possibilities. As she clutched the book tighter, daring to shout into the chaos, the words echoed in her mind. Would they be enough? Would this storm truly end? With the winds swirling in a frenzied dance, Clara took a deep breath. There were answers all around her, just out of reach. And just beyond the horizon, she sensed more than the clearing sky. Something powerful was coming. What would it reveal? What lay ahead? With heart racing, she couldn't turn back now. The air crackled with anticipation. Clara stood frozen, the ancient book clutched tightly to her chest, a lifeline in the swirling chaos. She could sense the storm around her growing more unstable, as if it were aware of the power brewing within her. She could almost hear it whispering, "Prove it." Suddenly, a blinding flash of lightning broke the darkness, illuminating her surroundings in stark contrast. Trees bent perilously, and the wind screamed in her ears, drowning out her thoughts. Yet, at that moment, she felt an overwhelming urge to speak, to shout the 3 words she had just discovered. Faith! She cried, her voice piercing through the din. The earth trembled underfoot as though it responded. Raindrops stung her face, but Clara stood firm, feeling a surge of resilience clawing its way to the surface. Hope! The storm hesitated, the roaring wind slackening for a heartbeat, as if weighing her words. Clara's heart raced. Could hope really exist within despair? Would the storm relent? And then, with every ounce of conviction she could muster, she cried out, "Love." That simple word, powerful and profound, rolled off her tongue like a prayer. The air shimmered around her, the dark clouds above momentarily parting to reveal a sliver of moonlight piercing through, electricity surged through her limbs, igniting the possibilities swirling in her mind. In that crucial moment, she was no longer just a girl weathering a storm, she was a warrior of light confronting an elemental force. Could it truly be that the answers she sought were nestled in these 3 words? A low rumble emerged from the storm, and Clara felt it resonate through her very soul. Shadows danced chaotically around her like predatory beasts. Were they the remnants of her fears? Or something darker lurking just beyond her sight? With her heart hammering against her ribcage, she sensed a shift in the atmosphere. The energy around her, once chaotic, began to coalesce into something tangible. Something bigger than herself. Clara took a step forward, emboldened by the mysterious glow of the book. If love can conquer all, she whispered to herself, trying to drown out the voice of doubt creeping in. But deep down, she knew love wasn't merely a word but an action, a force that could stand against the fiercest tempest that in her mind, the faces of those she had lost flickered. Friends, family, the laughter shared, and tears shed, it all rushed back like waves crashing against an unyielding shore. Would she be able to reclaim that warmth amidst the cold? Would those connections return, restored by the divine promise of love? The wind howled in response, suddenly growing fierce again, challenging her resolve. In that moment, as thunder clapped overhead, Clara realized that she didn't need to battle the storm alone. She wasn't the only one seeking peace. Around her, she felt the presence of others, faces etched with worry, hearts desperate for clarity. But little did she know, the storm wasn't just a test of her strength, it revealed hidden truths, fractured souls, and long-forgotten bonds waiting to be rekindled. And somewhere amidst that chaos, an answer awaited her, a revelation that would change everything. As Clara prepared to face the storm head-on, she couldn't shake the feeling that something more sinister lurked behind the furious winds. A dark force, stoked by her fears, was gathering strength, ready to pounce the moment she wavered. Could she truly harness love's power to transform the tempest? Or would the storm consume her, leaving her lost in shadows forever? The night grew heavy with tension, and Clara's destiny hung in the balance. With every heartbeat, the storm pushed closer. What awaited her was about to unravel. Clara's voice echoed in the stillness that followed her proclamation. Love. The word lingered in the charged air like a palpable entity, challenging the uproar around her. For a moment it felt as if nature itself held its breath, waiting, then the storm retaliated, furious. The wind screamed louder, twisting and turning as if it were enraged by her defiance. She staggered back, clutching the book tighter, droplets of rain mixing with the sweat on her brow. Panic surged through her veins, but she crushed it down. The shadows morphed, whispering dark secrets into the tumult. Clara knew she had to focus. She took a deep breath. Faith, hope, love, they were her shields now. With resolve hardening in her core, she stepped forward, feeling a fierce determination ignite within her. "You have no power over me," she yelled, her voice breaking through the storm's roar. Around her, she saw figures materializing from the darkness, faces both familiar and strange. They joined her, standing united against the dark winds, a tapestry of shared struggles and collective pain. They were people she knew from her past, friends who had faded into the background, faces of loved ones lost in time. Each bore their own scars yet radiated an undeniable strength. "Clara!" A shaky voice called out, and she turned to see Mark, her childhood friend. His eyes glistened with hope despite the chaos. "We're with you. Remember what we've fought for, together." The winds howled, but Clara felt the warmth of their spirit envelop her. In that instant, she understood that they were all here for the same reason. They were all weathering their storms, searching for light amid the darkness. Together, she shouted, rallying her friends. "We can channel this. With faith, hope, and love, we will push back." The crowd of souls surged forward, hands rising toward the heavens. Clara felt their energy coalesce, feeding off each heartbeat, each breath released, each glance shared. She noticed the dark shadows gradually retreating, like the tide receding from the shore. The storm had underestimated their collective strength, but as the shadowy figures dissipated, Clara's heart sank. Something deeper, more malignant lingered just beyond her sight. It was as if the storm was merely a distraction, a curtain hiding a far grimmer reality. "Look!" shouted Julia, one of the faces among them. "The sky. It's changing." Above them, the clouds twisted violently, swirling into a vortex, darkening once more. Clara squinted, trying to make sense of the shifting mass. "This isn't over," she murmured, dread pooling in her chest. Before she could process her fear, a shudder ran through the earth. The ground split open beneath them, revealing a chasm that gaped like a mouth ready to swallow them whole. It was a darkness so deep it seemed to pull in the very light they fought for. "Stay together." Clara's voice cracked as she fought against the urge to flee. They needed to stand firm. The lesson from her heartbeat wasn't lost on her. It was in unity that they defined their redemption, yet, just as she steadied herself, Clara felt the book against her chest grow warm, pulsing like a living thing, whispering promises of hope and strength. What if the answers are right there? Clara thought aloud, feeling the weight of possibility. But in that moment, a shadow detached from the chaos, a figure cloaked in darkness, eyes glinting like shards of glass, emerged from the swirling tempest. "Clara," it cooed seductively, its voice slithering through the air with an unsettling sweetness, "are you really prepared to face the truth? The storm? Or the shadows within yourself?" Chills ran down her spine. Who was this creature that beckoned with a knowing smile? What truth did it speak of? Desperation clawed at her throat, and she realized that this showdown wasn't just with the storm but with everything she thought she understood. As the lightning cracked overhead, illuminating the night in a flash of stark clarity, she had to make a choice and time was running out. Would she embrace the truth, no matter how painful, to find the resolution she craved? With the darkness smiling at her, Clara's heart raced, the air thick and electric. The storm was building again, but deeper shadows lurked, and she was the only one standing between chaos and resolution. What would she uncover when the storm revealed its final secret? Clara's heart pounded like a drum as she faced the figure before her, its obscured features shifting with the storm's fury. The wind howled around them, whipping her hair like tendrils of darkness seeking to pull her into the depths of uncertainty. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice stronger than she felt. "What do you want from me?" "I'm merely a guide," the shadow replied, each word soaked in temptation. "I know your fears, your deepest desires. All you need to do is accept the truth, and the storm will be quelled." Its eyes glinted, cold and calculating, pricking at the edges of her resolve. Clara's mind raced. Truth? What good would that do in the face of this chaos? But deep down, a flicker of understanding ignited. Pain was inevitable, but fear could be conquered. She felt the warmth of the book against her chest, its pulse mingling with her own heartbeat, a reminder that she wasn't alone. "Your shadow feeds off your doubts," the figure persisted, stepping closer, its presence suffocating. "Dare you release them? To confront the whispers of the past? Or will you cling to your illusions?" Clara tensed, a lump forming in her throat. Was that it? Was this storm an embodiment of her fears, the guilt of decisions made, and paths not taken? She gritted her teeth, feeling her friend's presence at her back. They were part of the light she needed. She couldn't let the storm distract her from what truly mattered. "I won't let you manipulate me," she shouted defiantly. "I choose love, and I choose hope." With that declaration, she felt a surge of energy ripple through her as if the very air around them vibrated with life. The shadows squirmed, hesitant, as if recoiling from her light. Clara glanced back at her friends Mark, Julia, and the others gathered like warriors ready for battle. "Channel your strength," she rallied them. "Do you feel it? We're stronger together. Let us face this darkness." The core of their unity pulsed like a heartbeat, rising to meet the storm. Hands reached toward the dark figure, pooling their energy to counter the shadow. But the figure laughed, a sound devoid of warmth, almost hollow. You think you can resist? I am the truth you fear to confront. I am what your heart conceals. Clara faltered for a moment, feeling the weight of its words pressing down. And what if I embrace it? She dared to ask. What if I dive deep into that pain? What will that reveal? The laughter ceased, replaced by a deafening silence. The shadows began swirling violently, struggling against the growing light. Clara felt her heart race, her hands trembled but gripped the book harder. This was it. She had to confront what lay within her. Let it out. She urged, her voice slicing through the storm. Let us face our pain together. Love is our shield, and hope is our guide. With every shout, every word, a glowing warmth surrounded the group, pushing against the darkness. A brilliant light began to push away the shadows, illuminating the chasm that threatened to swallow them whole. Clara wanted to run toward the light. But could she truly embrace the truth without the fear of losing everything? The figure recoiled, its form flickering, uncertain against the brilliance they conjured. You think you can hold the storm at bay? You know nothing of true despair. It screamed, fury rising in its voice. Clara felt the palette of dread slipping away, revealing an image of what she feared most, a reflection of her own pain, the memories she had tucked away. The terror settled in her stomach, reminding her of loss, mistakes, and regrets. But as she faced it, she grew stronger. She would not be made less by fear. Together. She yelled, clutching the book to her chest, pushing forward, her voice steady. We have faced worse than this. Our love will break through. The figure surged forward, venomous and powerful, ready to swallow them whole. For an instant, doubt flickered in Clara's mind, but she steadied herself. The warmth pulsed stronger, igniting her limbs with fire, warmth overcoming every shadowy thought. Hold the light. She commanded, her voice fierce as the storm roared around her once more. The energy grew brighter, a golden veil wrapping around them, tightening against the encroaching darkness. Just as she felt the swell of their unity take hold, a chilling cry echoed through the air, as if the darkness had spoken its last. The wind ceased, and for a heartbeat, silence enveloped the world, a stillness before the final blow. Then, abruptly, the chasm erupted, sending forth a surge of ancient echoes, promises, and terrifying uncertainties. The shadows shrieked in unison, reaching for Clara and her friends with a desperation that felt all too real. What lies beneath? Clara breathed, eyes widening in horror. What will we unleash? The storm raged once more, but now it simmered with an eerie anticipation, promising revelation and turmoil. The shadows were poised to take what they wanted, and Clara was about to uncover the truth that had been hidden all along, but was she ready for what would emerge from the depths? Would hope and love truly be enough as they stood at the precipice of the unknown? Clara's breath hitched in her throat as the echoes from the chasm swirled around her like a net tightening, pulsing with the weight of unspoken fears. The very air crackled with tension, dark tendrils reaching for her, brushing against her skin like icy fingers. This was no ordinary storm, it was a manifestation of everything she had buried and feared. Stay strong. Clara shouted, her voice strained, breaking through the cacophony of despair. She could feel her friends' hands trembling beside her, but their resolve shone like a beacon in the oppressive gloom. We face this together. Mark's voice rang out, steady but tinged with urgency. What do we do if we unleash what is hidden? What if it consumes us? The only way out is through. Julia said, her eyes fierce, refusing to let doubt seep in. We can't let this shadow win. Clara nodded, her heart pounding like a war drum. They had to face the darkness that lingered just beneath the surface of their minds. The figure loomed closer, a swirl of shadows becoming more defined, as if fed by their collective fear. A chilling whisper echoed in the wind, confining them. You'll wish you had clung to your illusions, my dear Clara. You don't know what's waiting. Shut up. Clara screamed, the word cutting through the growing anxiety like a knife. With a determined push, she stepped forward, gripping the book tighter to her chest. We will confront whatever lies within. We will not back down. The shadows writhed, almost alive, and Clara felt the primal fear creeping back. Each flicker of doubt sent chills racing down her spine. What if this is it? What if I can't handle it? But in that moment of hesitation, she felt a spark rise from the depths of her spirit, a flame of defiance against the consuming blackness. With a deep breath, she remembered her friends' faces, their unwavering belief in one another, and it ignited a fiery resolve. Feel that? The light we're generating, she urged, turning her gaze to their collective bond. We have the power to drive this away. The winds howled, but Clara's light grew brighter. Echoes of the past surged from within her, lost moments and heart-wrenching regrets intertwined with glimmers of hope. She could almost visualize them, the shadows of her past flickering like a film reel unraveling. Together, they shouted in unison, their voices rising, weaving a harmonized determination against the turbulent darkness. But the figure laughed again, a haunting sound that chilled Clara's bones. Foolish mortals, it hissed, chakra swirling perilously close. You think love and hope can banish the darkness? This is not a fairy tale. But something inside Clara snapped. Then let us find out. She lunged forward, embracing the shadows that wrapped around her, a whirlpool of memories threatening to pull her under. Suddenly, the air was thick with energy. She felt herself falling, diving deep into the abyss of her regret, swirling down where the darkest shadows resided. As she plummeted, visions flooded her mind, moments of weakness, faces of those she had let down, choices that had altered her path forever. But alongside the pain blossomed understanding. These are part of me, she whispered, realizing that the fear didn't control her, it was merely a piece of her story. It didn't have the power to define her, not anymore. As Clara sank further, the golden light within her began to pulse with greater intensity. You have no hold on me, she called out, her voice reverberating through the shadows. I choose to embrace this pain. In response, the storm trembled. The shrieks of despair morphed, twisting into something different, something potent. And then, just before she fully surrendered to the truth within, a vision flickered in front of her, bright and beautiful. It was a future she had once dreamed of, filled with love and laughter, but hidden behind insecurities. Do you see now, Clara? The figure taunted, as if sensing her shift. You can't bear the weight of your own heart, but Clara stood firmer, defiance igniting in her chest. I can bear all of it. I will not drown in my past. The shadows roared, the storm swelling dangerously. Suddenly, the ground beneath her began to quake, shaking loose everything that had restrained her. The echoes of her past were no longer whispers but roars of anger and defiance, her history rising to meet her renewed courage. But then, as quick as it began, the storm froze. The whispers faded, and for a moment, all was eerily silent. Clara felt a presence, something ancient and wise, filling the air with anticipation. Is this what you seek? It murmured, as shadows danced around her, forming a swirling vortex of broken dreams and buried desires. What will you do when the truth reveals itself? Clara's heart raced, knowing she stood on the precipice of something monumental. What had she truly unleashed? And amid all the chaos, what lay hidden in the depths of this storm, as shadows flickered like hesitant spirits around her, a revelation loomed closer than ever before, and dread unfurled within her once more. Would she be ready for the truth? Clara, the figure beckoned, and she could feel the tremors of fate drawing near. But she had one choice left to make. Would she dare to reach out and grasp what awaited on the other side? The whispers twisted, wrapping around Clara like a cold serpent, urging her to retreat. But she couldn't. The air crackled, alive with her burgeoning resolve. Deep down, she knew the truth loomed ahead, waiting to be uncovered. "I've faced darkness before," Clara murmured, her voice fierce, resonating with the heartbeat of the universe itself. Yet, the shadows responded with a cacophony of rage, a whirlwind of memories that clawed at her sanity. Faces began to form in the gloom: loss, betrayal, every choice she'd once regretted, a living nightmare swirling within the storm. "Embrace me, Clara." The figure hissed, its form flickering dangerously close. "You cannot escape who you are." "No. I want to be defined by my past," she shouted, an echo of defiance ripping through the storm's oppressive grip. Her friends released a collective breath, their faith in her fueling her courage. Mark stepped forward, grounding her. "You're stronger than this. Just remember what we came here to do." His eyes sparkled with determination, gripping her heart like a precious jewel in a storm. Julia clenched her fists, her voice rising above the tumult. "We believe in you, Clara." She echoed the vow that had formed in their hearts during their many trials, igniting a fire within Clara's chest. The shadows twisted, a swirling tempest of despair that promised to engulf them all. "Fools! You think strength in numbers will amplify your power? I feed on your fear." Clara clutched the book tightly, feeling its warmth radiate through her. This was not simply a vessel of knowledge but a lifeline to her past, a reminder of her strength forged through fires of pain. "No. You don't own me. We control our fate." With that declaration, Clara felt energy coursing through her veins, the golden light exploding from her core. It pushed back against the encroaching darkness, a fierce battle of light and shadow. Images surged through her mind, painful moments evolving into lessons learned. Every wrong turn, she realized, brought her knowledge, resilience. The shadows roared, but the roar faded into whispers as she began to shine. "You think you are powerful?" The figure growled, but uncertainty rippled through its voice. "I am powerful," Clara declared, her voice clear as a bell, resonating with the essence of truth. The shadows quaked, hesitant in the face of her determination. The more she accepted her painful past, the more they receded, unable to withstand the brightness of her acceptance. The air grew heavy with the weight of understanding. Clara felt every heartbeat of her friends merging with her own, their combined strength forging an unbreakable bond. But as the figure receded, a deeper shadow emerged, more threatening than before. "Even now, you believe you can overcome? What lies ahead is worse than you can fathom." Panic flared in her chest, but she quelled it. "What's worse than facing my own fears?" she challenged, and then she saw it, an image more haunting than any before. A future filled with isolation, betrayal from those closest to her, and painful memories flooding back to her in a turbulent rush. Each one threatened to suffocate her, but Clara inhaled deeply, allowing it all to wash over her, a flood of tears that blurred her vision. "The truth, I'm ready," she cried out, anchored by her friend's support. Shadows twisted tighter, but Clara pushed through, their dark whispers battling against her resolve. Just as she felt the edge of despair creeping back in, she heard a voice, a comforting echo that pierced through the chaos. "I am here, Clara. Will you join me?" The figure shifted again, revealing something unexpected, a face she recognized. It was a version of herself, older, with eyes filled with light and wisdom, beckoning her forward. "Choose," it said, extending a hand. The world around her trembled, holding its breath in anticipation. Clara stood on the cusp of choice, an eternity flashing through her mind. Would she embrace a path she had long avoided? As the shadows loomed, thickening in the air, a new doubt clawed its way into her heart. What awaited her on the other side of that offer? Would she find strength or more shadows waiting in the dark? In that moment, the storm crackled once again, pushing her to a brink. Clara had to decide, but could she trust the light within her enough to take the leap? What will you do, Clara? Are you prepared for the truth? With chilling finality, she felt the vortex of choices swirling, each one darker than the last, blurring the line between self and shadow, reality and fear. Holding her breath, she took a step forward, into an uncertain fate. Clara's heart pounded like a drum, each beat echoing a desperate rhythm as she faced the spectral version of herself. The older Clara, a reflection carved from whatever future awaited her, held out her hand as if inviting her into a world where pain and promise intertwined. The swirling shadows began to retreat, pulling back just enough to grant her a sliver of clarity. That slight reprieve allowed her mind to race through possibilities, but doubt clawed at her edges like icy fingers. Would she be stepping into light or a deeper abyss? The older Clara smiled, a warm, inviting glow in a space streaked with despair. Trust yourself, Clara. The truth has always been within you. Clara felt the heat of her friend's support behind her, but the uncertainty tightened its grip. The familiar faces from her past drifted in the edges of darkness, memories flashing like faded photographs daring her to run, to hide again. Don't, she cried out, the words shattering the silence. No more running from the truth. With a surge of determination, Clara stepped forward, reaching for the comforting warmth of her future self, every ounce of fear pierced through by the light of acceptance. The moment their fingers touched, Clara felt a rush of memories drown her. Laughter, tears, love, betrayal, all of it surged forth like an ocean wave, pulling her under. She gasped, trying to surface as the weight of forgotten moments threatened to crush her. Then she heard Julia's frantic voice pull her back, "Clara. Fight it." Clara gasped for air, struggling against the tide of memories. "I won't drown. I am not alone." Combining her strength with the light from the older Clara, she pushed against her feelings of doubt, each surge of warmth breaking the shadows apart. The cacophony of whispers transformed, morphing into words. "You need to see the truth will burn through," they urged, now indecipherable. With fierce resolve, Clara concentrated on the light, the image of a future that wasn't merely shadow and fear. She could see glimpses of laughter, of friendship strengthened, of love unbroken by the past. Shadows flickered, growling as her vision expanded. "Stronger than you think, aren't you?" The shadow snarled. "Yes," Clara shouted, her voice ringing with conviction. "I'll embrace the truth." The realization hit her like thunder. It wasn't just about battling the darkness, it was about embracing every part of her story, the heartbreak, the joy, everything that made her who she was. The shadows writhed in fury, but as she embraced the warmth within, they began to fragment, splintering into thin strands of smoke. "Feel it," the older Clara urged, her voice soothing. "Let the truth burn away the lies." With a push of will, Clara focused on the light, and it erupted like a supernova. She felt energy coursing, illuminating the dark corners of her heart, shattering the chains of her past. As her surroundings swelled with brilliance, Clara opened her eyes wide, and in that blinding light, she heard her friends encouraging her. "You can do this. We're with you." But just when victory seemed near, a new darkness emerged, and the air crackled ominously. From it loomed a figure more terrifying than before, a silhouette that gnarled and twisted, its hatred palpable. "Foolish child," it screeched. "You think facing truth will set you free? It will only lead to deeper horrors." Clara's resolve wavered, the shadows coiling closer, closing around her newly illuminated path. The ground shook beneath them, a desperate echo resonating through the chamber. Fear pooled in her stomach, an icy reminder of what was at stake. With an urgency that made her pulse race, Clara faced the celestial reflection of herself one last time. "If I embrace the truth, I will find strength. Show me." The older Clara nodded, her expression unwavering. But as she spoke, a deep rumble filled the air, drowning out reason. "The truth will reveal not only strength but choices, terrible choices that will haunt you." And then silence fell, thick and suffocating. Clara's breaths became shallow as the shadows lingered at the edges. Twisting, ready to pounce, a cold sweat dripped down her back. Had she stepped too far? "Prepare yourself, Clara. What is revealed will change everything." A blinding flash overhead sent her spiraling back as dread clawed at her heart. Uncertainty flooded her thoughts. What truth would lay ahead? What choices would she have to make that might shatter her completely? The shadows gathered once more, relentless and waiting, their whispers weaving a web of fate around her. Was she ready to confront the depths of her truth? The air thickened with a suffocating tension. Clara felt the weight of destiny bearing down on her like a storm ready to break. And in that moment, she knew she was on the brink of a revelation that could either save her or ruin everything she held dear. What awaited her in the darkness? What words would sever the ties binding her to fear? As the cacophony of shadows erupted once more, Clara prepared to step back into the unknown. The silence shattered like glass, the cacophony of whispers growing into a deafening roar. Shadows, twisted and contorted, surged toward Clara, almost tangible now, thick as fog and filled with a rancid chill. She braced herself, heart racing, as she felt their presence claw at her skin like icy talons. "What do you want from me?" Clara shouted, her voice barely above the rising tide of despair. "Your truth, Clara. Give us your truth." They screamed, voices layered, echoing from every corner of the swirling darkness, inflating Clara's dread. She caught a glimpse of Julia, standing by the entrance of the chamber, eyes wide with fear, urging her silently to hold on. A lifeline tethered in the storm. The warmth of her friend surrounded her, but the shadows pooled deeper, seeping into her mind and tugging on buried fears. Suddenly, memories assaulted her, fears of failure, moments of heartbreak, regrets that danced around her like vultures picking at her resolve. "I want to let you take me," Clara screamed, desperation fueling her as she ground her palms into the earth beneath her. "You're nothing but echoes of my past." The twisted silhouette flickered, the shadows shuddering as if struck by her defiance. "You think they are echoes? They are your choices, Clara. The weight of every decision you've made. And now, you must choose again, the light, or the dark." Her heart lurched. This wasn't just an obstacle, it was a crossroads. "The truth will shatter you," the shadows coiled, their voice a snake-like hiss. "Will you face it? Will you risk losing everything for clarity?" What kind of clarity, Clara wondered. The past had shaped her, but it also haunted her soul. Could she stand to unravel the bonds that tethered her to pain? She glanced at her older self once more, the figure now flickering but still radiating hope. "Clara." The elderly version called out. "You only fear what you do not face. Step into the light you've created, not the darkness that seeks to control you." Clara's breath caught in her throat. Was she truly ready to accept every part of herself? She felt the warmth of self-acceptance blooming in her chest, fighting against the tightening pressure in her gut. "I am stronger than my fears," she whispered, grounding herself in that belief. Suddenly, shadows recoiled, swirling wildly, as if her words were an offense. "You think strength is what you want?" they spat. "Accept your truth, and you'll see." Clara threw back her shoulders, the realization injecting new life into her resolve. Strength was never about being invulnerable, it was about acknowledging the chaos within and still choosing to rise. "I will embrace my truth." A bright light erupted within her, illuminating the shadows, pushing them back, scattering their grip. Each flick of light burned hot, igniting memories that had weighed her down for too long. In the fire of acceptance, she faced the hurt, the loss, the moments she regretted, and in doing so, felt lighter. As the shadows wailed and twisted, she could hear the echoes of her choice, each layer weaving through the onslaught of darkness. Behind her, Julia and other friends stepped closer, each pooling their strength, forming a protective circle around her. "Together!" Julia shouted, their voices intertwining, amplifying Clara's courage. "We face the truth, no matter how terrifying." Just then, a pronounced crack shattered the air, and an eruption of darkness surged toward Clara like a tidal wave, more furious than before. She stood firm, heart racing, determination burning bright. "Show me," Clara demanded, her voice ringing like a beacon. "I will not be afraid." But as clarity surged through her, clarity came at a cost. An unseen hand reached into her heart, squeezing until a gasp escaped her lips. What emerging truth had she summoned? In that moment, she beheld a vision, not just shadows but flickers of light intertwined with an unspeakable horror. Each glimmer told a story she had yet to reckon with, choices that could not go back into the dark. What crucial truth was revealing itself? A new revelation twisted in her mind, a question born from the chaos, and it echoed loudly amid the tumult. Would this truth empower her, or would it tear her apart? The shadows lunged forward with one final, devastating surge, claws bared, as Clara braced for impact. Was this the breaking moment, or one that would rebuild her? The answer lurked just beyond her reach, as the impending clash promised to reveal everything. The shadows crashed around Clara, a tempest of raw energy and despair. Her heart pounded, each beat a countdown, echoing in her ears like thunder. She felt the grip around her heart tighten, yet in that moment of imminent chaos, a flicker of clarity pierced through the gloom. It wasn't just horror she faced, it was the fragmented essence of her life. Light burst forth from within, illuminating the chaos. Each fragment of light took form, revealing truths she had buried deep. They shimmered like stars against a dark void, dancing around her, urging her to confront the horror woven into her fabric. But the shadows were relentless, shrieking in fury, attempting to drown out her burgeoning courage. "Your light is nothing," they screamed, their venomous voices clawing at her resolve. "You cannot escape who you truly are." Clara's breath hitched, but she remembered the warmth of unity, the circle of friends surrounding her, their strength bolstering her will. "What I truly am is more than you'll ever know," she shouted, the light within her pulsing stronger, clearly defined. The flickers of acceptance coalesced into a radiant form, a blazing shield against the encroaching darkness. One by one, she could feel the nudging whispers from the memories: the first heartbreak, the day she failed, the time she let fear dictate her choices. They surged forward, encircling her, urging forgiveness and understanding. "I see you," she declared, eyes luminous and steadfast. "You are part of my journey, but you no longer define my path." The shadows recoiled at her words, seeming to swallow themselves in a surge of disorientation. "You cannot deny your flaws. They are chains that bind you," they hissed, lunging to wrap around her once more. "Chains only hold if you let them," Clara yelled, cutting through the negative thrall, her voice resonating with fierce determination. "I own my story. I choose to forgive the past and embrace who I am now." In that moment, the ground trembled beneath her, rumbling like a distant storm. The vision of her choices swirled like a cyclone, menacing and beautiful all at once. They crisscrossed, weaving tales of love, loss, and strength. Clara felt the intensity of her journey coursing through her veins, empowering her. "Face your truth," Julia shouted, her voice an anchor amid the chaos. "Remember how far you've come." And then it struck Clara, an unstoppable wave of acceptance that surged through her, cleansing away all remnants of regret. "I've survived." She felt in her bones, a familiar fire roaring to life. "I've lived. That's my truth." With a sudden, cataclysmic burst, the shadows exploded around her, filling the air with a cacophony of wails, like the ultimate scream of retreating darkness. Threads of light splintered them apart, revealing everything she held on to. Clara stood unyielding, the storm of shadows dissipating into the void, leaving nothing but echoes of her choices behind. But then, in the eerie silence, something new emerged. A figure loomed out of the remnants of darkness, larger than life, its presence radiating an unsettling nostalgia. Clara squinted as the shadows coalesced, revealing a silhouette she didn't expect. This was a face she thought she'd buried, a figure she believed was long gone. "Clara," the voice whispered, familiar and chilling, "you've embraced the light, but will you accept the darkness within?" Her heart dropped. Was this an ally or an enemy? The truth hung thick in the air, laden with questions that could unravel everything she'd fought for. Would this confrontation tear her newfound strength apart, or build her into something far greater than she ever imagined? The air shimmered with uncertainty, as the true test stood before her. The storm had calmed, but the real tempest was only just beginning. Clara stood trembling, the storm of shadows now lapping at the edges of her courage, swirling like a tempest threatening to engulf her. The figure before her, a reflection of her past, beamed with an unsettling familiarity. "Will you accept what lies within you?" It posed, a haunting question echoing in the charged air. "I thought I conquered you," Clara shouted, her voice steady despite the tremors in her chest. "You don't define my existence anymore." But the figure's gaze was unyielding, piercing through the cracks of her newfound confidence. "You think you've embraced the light? But you haven't faced your darkness. Only then will your truth set you free." The shadows hissed in agreement, circling her, eager to sink their teeth back into her vulnerable spots. "Clara," they whispered seductively, voices intertwining like serpents. "Every moment of shame, every heartbreak, all still resonate in your soul, waiting to be acknowledged." For a moment, she faltered. Memories flashed like lightning, the times she felt inadequate, friendships lost, the dreams fallen by the wayside. They clawed at her like a wild pack, persuading her to retreat, to regain the comfort of ignorance. Mark and Julia stepped closer, grounding her as Clara remembered the warmth of their love. Those memories didn't define her, they were part of her mosaic. With newfound resolve, Clara shouted into the void, "You're right about one thing, accepting the darkness is just as important as the light." "Then step into it," the figure beckoned, a glimmer of approval in its darkened eyes. "Dare to merge with your shadows." Clara felt fear swell, her heart pounding like a war drum. But she took a deep breath, recalling the words that had been her lifeline through chaos: faith, hope, love. Each beat of her heart reminded her that she wasn't alone. "If love can conquer all, then I accept my full self," she declared, stepping forward to meet her darkness head-on. It was a confrontation unlike any she had ever faced. She closed her eyes, feeling the shadows press against her, whispering, entreating. "You want like what you see," they hissed. Clara sank into the darkness, determination coursing through her veins. The pain of rejection, the weight of failure, she unleashed it all, letting each memory wash over her, allowing herself to feel every nuance of grief, shame, and joy. "I forgive you," she said softly. "I forgive myself." In that moment, the shadows began to bend and twist, not attacking, but flowing toward her, merging, weaving into her essence. Clara gasped as the raw truth streamed through her, illuminating her like a firework bursting across the night sky. The memories no longer threatened but became part of her strength. She opened her eyes, now filled with light. "You see," she announced boldly to the figure, "embracing the darkness makes me whole. I've shown myself the power of vulnerability." A brilliant glow emanated from her core, filling the space around her and swallowing the shadows in a radiant embrace. They shrieked as they dissipated, returning to the ether from which they came. Clara felt the thrill of victory surge through her as she removed the weight of fear from her shoulders. The figure before her shimmered, oscillating between darkness and light. It vanished into a swirl of spark-like memories that danced around Clara, weaving the fabric of who she now was, imbued with lessons learned and beauty discovered. "See?" Her older self spoke, the warmth radiating from her own past. "You are stronger than you ever realized. The truth is freedom, and you have earned it." With a sense of finality, Clara turned to her friends, their faces glowing with pride and relief. The storm had indeed ended, not because she fought alone but because she had embraced everything light and dark, joy and sorrow. They melded into her spirit, forging a bond that would withstand any future storm. Together, Clara reaffirmed, glancing at Mark and Julia. "With faith, hope, and love guiding us, we can weather any storm." The night was still and peaceful now, the air crisp with clarity. Above, the clouds parted, revealing a sky speckled with stars. Moonlight drenched the earth, illuminating the path ahead. Hand in hand, they walked away from the remnants of their fears, stepping into a future waiting to be written, not free from challenges, but steadfast with the promise of redemption. And as they moved forward, Clara understood storms would come again, but now she carried a spark inside her that could never be extinguished. The world ahead was vibrant with possibilities, and Clara faced it with a heart full of love, hoping to inspire others in their own storms. "Let us go home," she said, a smile breaking through the remnants of fear. And together, they did just that, forging a bond that promised to stand the test of time. Now, this is your moment, too. You need to subscribe now so you won't miss any more incredible stories like Clara's. Smash that like button to fuel the algorithm that keeps this channel thriving. Don't hold back, flood the comments with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about what came next for Clara. And this is crucial, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this cathartic conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to support the channel. True fans know this is how we grow together.